It's not every day that you see 4-on-4 and you say the match is done. It was just kind of foregone conclusion once Sai was able to execute as he punches his ticket into the semifinals and will await the winner of our next match. Hua, thanks for joining us here at the desk. We appreciate it. We'll cut you loose. We know you got to do some meet and greet stuff for the fans out here at the esports arena, and we are going to move forward to the Mak on Mak match. First up, let's welcome HipnotyMAK. Hypnoty from Honolulu, Hawaii, 26-year-old student who talked to us about how he got his start in Summoner's War.
So my friend, one of my best friends, he actually told me to start playing the game, and I saw him playing on the phone, and I thought it was kind of dumb. So he told me, no, I'm gonna buy you a $100 pack, and you're gonna play the game. And then I summoned the Nat 5 from that, and then I ended up getting hooked from there, and then I ended up getting stuck playing for the next 2.5 years. That was in May 2015.
Don't you guys hate it when you get stuck doing something for 2.5 years?
That sounds like my experience. Start playing the game, you get Teor, Water, Chimera, a really cool unit, and the next thing you know, 2 years later, you're playing the same game.
And it's time for JMak to come to the stage. JMak, 26 years of age as well, hails from Vancouver, and he talked to us about his favorite monster.
My favorite monster was probably Zyros. It has changed for utility-wise or whatnot now, but Zyros has a soft spot in my heart just because during the time when I first started playing, it was a red dragon that looked super cool. You can't go wrong with something like that, and at the time it was a very powerful monster. It still is, but the meta has changed where we don't use him as much anymore.
And it's interesting that JMak kind of talks about the meta. Trends come and go. I mean, from the time we were out in Mobile Masters to now, things have changed. Certain characters have gained and lost abilities, and players respond accordingly. New monsters get introduced.
And that's what keeps it fun, though. It wouldn't be fun and enjoyable for a game where you're playing for years if it's always the same. You know, we would like to see the meta shift. We would like to see different units implemented. We would like to see new features. We would like to see units come and go in terms of like which ones are popular, which ones are strong. Yeah. So it's good to see different things.
And I think it's in large part why it is that we see the success of Summoner's War 3 years in. I mean, this is a pretty fickle community of gamers. You know, you always want something new, a different challenge. They've been able to present that to that community within the framework of the exact same game they've been playing for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, in an industry of mobile gaming, when there's so many mobile games that are coming out and being released, a lot of these developers are jumping on it. They got to get their own game out into there, and so it's really competitive. You know, you see a lot of apps come out. It's like, oh, these apps are really good, except a lot of these guys have been invested in the Summoner's War for 3 years now, or 2 years, or 1 year, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna play this game because I got my special unit that I summoned, like in JMak's case, Zeros.
Yeah, and he talked about it not being in meta, but we just saw Sai completely dominate Hua with the Zeros, which is his favorite monster, and it's actually one of my favorite monsters as well. It was my first Nat 5 that I got, and I've loved it ever sinst.
And by the way, HipnotyMAK had a front row seat to that match just like JMak did, so perhaps with the knowledge that that is one of JMak's favorite monsters, could he look to both ban and potentially draft to block?
Potentially, but I believe that with his mindset coming into it, having Zeros not really being on the forefront of what he's planning on doing, it might have been tough for him to switch things around and say, hey, that worked for Sai. Let me see 2 minutes later if I can work that into my composition.
Right, because what Sai had done to Hua there, I mean, he had such an he had the first win, so he had a safety net, where if he would have lost, would have been fine. And he just went so aggressive in that draft, and it just caught Hua off guard. And then he just couldn't come back after it once he had drafted certain units. So here we go, HipnotyMAK answering to Ciara's pick. JMak starting with Ciara, HipnotyMAK starting with Perna Usa.
We'll see if we find some more interesting picks from
I'm waiting
HipnotyMAK
for Wind Fairy King.
Wind Fairy King.
It's like if you have him, odds are you're going to find yourself either going with him or against him.
And as we can see again, both players in the same guild, so most likely practice against each other
Yeah, these
bounce
guys have
ideas
seen,
off
have
each other
seen
a
what
lot.
they do in terms of like what they do to other opponents. You know, these guys have been doing guild wars with each other for a really long time, and so that's also kind of like this like reverse psychology. You know, are they going to go with that traditional build that we talked about last night, or are they going to change it up and go with something different?
So no super unique monsters yet that we haven't seen. Nothing crazy so far. Amelia, good choice though for HipnotyMAK. I would say going against a Sierra, that's a really solid choice to have not only the immunity from Amelia, but also the immunity from Wusa as well. And then having two immunity buffing monsters into an Okeanos, I would say that's extremely, extremely powerful. You just got to decide which one you want to take down. In this situation, the only sustainability on JMak's team is that Rakuni.
And HipnotyMAK has the Tessarian to potentially Oblivion him altogether, and we saw what Faint Memory was able to do to make it bud, where he just eliminated the Rakuni first and just manipulated the way that his passive works in terms of cleansing the lowest HP target. So we'll see if HipnotyMAK can do the same.
So do you think he's going to be banning the Rakuni, or is he going to let
the situation?
through?
Man, they are currently at the ban stage. You know, HipnotyMAK drafted that Tessarian because he does not want his own Perna and Water Unicorn to potentially have Oblivion status. So this is going to be a tricky one. And looks like JMak ended up banning the Water Unicorn, and HipnotyMAK ended up banning the Okeanos altogether. Speed lead for JMak, and HipnotyMAK is taking the time to figure out if he wants to go with the accuracy lead from Wusa, but he chooses Resist, which is really smart.
I think that Leica for HipnotyMAK is going to be super hard for JMak to deal with.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. These guys know each other's units. They've been playing with each other for a long time, not only competitively, but also, you know, in their spare time.
HipnotyMAK looks so good against KazutoMAK on his way into this match against JMak. That guild familiarity creates a different angle.
Gets all the buffs removed off of Tessarian there. Able to now use Sanctuary from Belligeul to heal up his team, or give his team immunity, rather.
Yep, going for the Tessarian first. He does not want to give HipnotyMAK a chance to get Oblivion status on Rakuni. He's got the immunity from Bella. He was unable to get the bomb, though, on Tessarian. Tessarian with the resist, so we'll see if he's going to be able to last long enough to keep Rakuni alive up against his team, because Perna and Leica, they're going to be taking turns very shortly.
Was able to get a violent proc, and then
Wow.
a nice utilization of the Rakuni to, again, refill up the attack bar of Sierra to put a bomb on the Tessarian. However, with Tessarian now hoping to defense break the Sierra and set it up for Leica to one-shot it, but it's a pretty tanky Sierra.
I don't know. Leica might not be able to one-shot. Maybe Perna and Leica both take a turn.
Yeah,
Just
obviously,
barely
I think both
surviving. Now I'm going to have to use Justice from Leica's skill 2. Just skill 1 going to be enough to take down Sierra.
Match heavily in favor, though, of HipnotyMAK right now. He's really looking good. I don't see any way that he could possibly lose this right now. I think it's pretty much...
It's going to be tough. Ethna is a very powerful unit currently right now, but with Leica and Perna on the table, it's going to make it pretty tough.
In that
Somehow
situation,
takes down.
I feel like he should have used Shatter in that, because by the time the immunity wears off with the other monsters, he'll have it up again where he can use it once more, but decided to not go with Shatter in that situation, so now Punishment might not kill the Tessarian, which it didn't.
I think he was kind of hoping for a Vile proc from that Rakuni right there to be able to keep his Ethna alive just a little bit longer. Gets the stun though, one Perna. The Tessarian takes down Ethna. 2 units left, what do you do?
There's not much you can do.
Think about the next match.
Think about the next match from here. Again, take your time, just kind of draw it out a little bit and figure out how you want to play the next match, and otherwise it's go big or go home. Even keeping that Tessarian alive by using the third skill from Wusa. Landing the defense break on
Of course, getting his own Vile proc.
Of course, getting that
Additional
Vile proc.
damage. Trying to end this match, and that is it. So we're going to a draft for round 2, JMak versus HipnotyMAK.
Hypnoty looking good there.
Oh, this is nothing for him. Do you see how much he benches? Dude could like bench press me IRL.
Well, luckily, physical strength, not necessarily a big angle in Summoner's War. The playing field leveled, regardless of what you can bench press. I've been impressed, guys, with Hypnoty so far. Granted, he has been playing against other guild members to this point. We haven't seen him up against outside competition, but he certainly understands how to take a knowledge base with respect to an opponent and apply it effectively.
Oh yeah, he's a really strong competitor. I know he said it in his interview where he felt like he was kind of an underdog, just wanted to come here and hang out and have fun. But for me, he's a top 100 player. He ranked around 70 last season, and I feel like he's underestimating himself a little bit. And like Island said, it was his favorite player. Island wanted HipnotyMAK to win, not only because he's from Hawaii, but also because he has the potential to win.
So you see here, JMak taking that Tessarian away from him, hoping to maybe get Raccoony without having to worry about Tessarian with Oblivion status. Different draft from both players, seeing Water Fairy King as well as Orion. Gonna be a really fast team from HipnotyMAK. That's an interesting pick, knowing that it's a fast team you're going up against, playing Leo with a passive Eye of the Storm, limiting the potential speed. Probably going to be a strong pick for HipnotyMAK, looking to ban the Leo, which would allow JMak to keep Okeanos and Gani on the table, though.
Yeah, HipnotyMAK's got to be really careful here because he's got, not only does he have Leo that he has to look out for banning, he also has the Ganymede and the of course, the Okeanos, like you said, and Sierra as well, that are all going to be countering against the 3 water monsters that HipnotyMAK already has. I like the Leica choice as well. Again, having the Perna and Leica against a lot of wind monsters, it makes it much easier.
You got to throw Leica up against his brother, man.
Yeah, we'll see how they do.
When Leo throws a 60k torrent into Leica, it's still not going to do more than 33% of his HP.
We're into the ban stage, and let's see what they decide to do.
Last second bans from both members. HipnotyMAK losing his Orion and JMak losing his Okeanos.
You guys support those bans?
It's going to be an interesting game, I think, with Leo on the table, especially when both of them are still drafting speed. Now, Leo, if HipnotyMAK's units are all on Will, then Leo is not going to be as big of a deal because Leo, when he attacks, reduces attack bar on the unit. But if that unit has Will, it doesn't do anything. It won't reduce the attack bar, so Leo won't come into play until later. So
yeah,
he does have 2 units. He doesn't have Wusa on Will, and he unfortunately did not get the attack bar reduced there, so he still gets Wish of Immortality first. That's not the way that JMak wanted this to start out, because now he can't really play Wind Fairy King the way that he wants to, and he has to use Wind Fairy King skill 1 to get the strip, which he does on Water Fairy King. He can potentially use Ciara, but I think he wanted to have Tessarian going first.
Yeah, the Tessarian and the Ganymede going against Water Fairy King, Samath, and Perna is actually a really good counter.
Oh, it really is. The Water Fairy King's in a really tough position right now because he's got a 2-turn bomb and he has Oblivion, so Water Fairy King's not going to come back to life after he dies. And you can do the same thing to Perna as long as immunity doesn't fall off.
The only thing he's got to be careful of is that Leica and Perna dealing too much damage where it's leaving him too much hindered before JMak has a chance to come back.
Man, this situation, when you get the Vio proc, what do? You have to strip. It really needs a second turn here with the Ciara so we can get that bomb and go into a promised time, maybe stun the Perna. Unable to get it, unfortunately.
Gets the defense break on Perna, lands the Oblivion, so now if Perna goes down, she is down for good. Doesn't really need to worry too much about the Samath, that's going to die either way.
Right.
Still decides to reset the attack bar on it, though. Down it goes. I would have kept the Seal Magic.
They ended up resisting it, it looked like that. But with the Oblivion, it doesn't matter. And he ends up getting the Vio proc, which cleared Oblivion, and he ends up taking down Tessarian.
And like you guys said, Leo would come into play later on.
Right, and Leica has a passive that basically makes it so you have to hit him really hard 3 times, and Leo is one of those units that hits really hard with the second skill once he gets a little bit weaker. So Leica is a really strong unit to have right now up against both of these wind units that JMak has.
Decided to seal magic on Leica instead of going after Wusa, so that leaves Wusa now with the 3rd skill up for this next turn, and that could potentially kind of put the nail in the coffin for JMak.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
And again, like you said, Koopa, having Leo against Leica, it's not a good situation.
No, definitely not. Not in this situation.
And to be fair, HipnotyMAK recognized that with the Leo up there, if he was going to let it play and not ban, then Leica was the right last pick for him.
Yeah. Very strategic pick for HipnotyMAK, and it definitely worked out for him, and he'll be moving on to face Sai in the semifinals.
There it is, Leica with the killing blow. HipnotyMAK taking out one of his old guild members, moving forward, and will be up against Sai later on in the semifinals.
Jay wishing his man well, as Hypnoty will have his first taste of non-guild competition in the form of the formidable Sai, and not until the semifinals that ends up happening. So I'm interested to see how that ends up playing out between the two of them, as the stage is somewhat set here.
It's going to be tough. Sai putting on a dominating performance against Hua last round, and actually HipnotyMAK also having 2 pretty dominating rounds against his guild members, Kazuto and JMak now. And I don't know, I would say that the favor slightly lies on Sai, but again, HipnotyMAK playing very strong lately, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with him so far. Let's send it down to our Maria Ho, who is standing by with the man himself.
HipnotyMAK, you seem so cool, calm, and collected up there. What do you think you could attribute to that to?
I work as a team, so I know a lot of people within my team's runes and builds and stuff, so I know I was one of the ones who helped JMak and mentored him, so when I saw him, whatever I taught him was a type of mindset that I kind of sent him on, and I knew that his mind is only going to be on that one path. So I needed to do something different, and we discussed it. If people are doing a whole bunch of CC teams, to do something a little more bruisery. So I went ahead and did that, and it worked. So,
without giving too much away about how you plan on facing your next match, how do you feel about Sai?
I don't feel as scared as I was to face my own guildmates or Barian. I feel like if I have enough time right now, I can whip something up.
All right, well, go do that.
Thanks, Maria, as we take a look at the remaining 4 hopefuls out of the original 16. Barian and Faint Memory will face off on one side of the semis, and on the other, as Hypnoty mentioned, he's going to be taking on Sai. So the action has been fierce thus far. We have seen dominating performances, some upsets as well. The emotional roller coaster will continue from Santa Ana, California, as the 2017 Summoners War Championship Series rolls on after the break.